Howdy Commanders, Echo here. Today we're going to go over the Rust and Rumble event notes. We're going to sort of use our good, bad, ugly patch notes format, although not exactly. I am not going to insult your intelligence, much like in my patch notes format. I'm not going to read the thing top to bottom. You're plenty smart. Wargaming puts the work in to make these things relatively intelligible. So we're just going to do kind of a Reader's Digest / editorial commentary on these event notes that just came out today. In the background, we've got a divisional beatdown of sorts with some prescient counter-destroyer play, shall we say. I'm in the Tier 7 Tech Tree French destroyer, the Le Fantasque, and we're divisioned up with Shadow. He's in the Tier 7 Tech Tree U.S. cruiser, the Baltimore. We're on Land of Fire, it's domination mode, and we're at the Southeast Charlie spawn. Keep an eye on this in the background. There is going to be a moment here where I am going to let the original kind of team chat play back and forth, and I'll drop out of my Rust and Rumble commentary for a moment, but for the most part I'm just going to let this game play out in the background. That moment is actually coming up pretty quick, so while you're watching it, why don't you try to pull up your event or patch notes in the background. Give you a couple minutes to do that while you watch this pretty crazy exchange happen here in just a moment, and then once I come back, hopefully you'll have time to have pulled up those event notes and you can follow along as I go through them in that good, bad, ugly format.
I accidentally hit the trigger. Luckily it didn't spot me.
Double Bismarck over on this side. Okay. Something's in Bravo already.
I'm spotted by whatever's in Bravo, probably. I don't know, I'm spotted now.
No, you're spotted by something in Charlie. Hold on, don't radar yet. Let me get my guns around. Oh, he's right fucking there anyway. He just smoked up.
Yeah,
all right, I'm gonna sit behind this island for a minute in case he torped at you. I don't want to get torped by him. Yep, there they are.
Radar when you're ready.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Fletcher?
Fives, 2 sets of 5.
Fives, yeah, that's Fletcher. Okay, radar now.
Oh, that hurt.
Fletcher says no. Oh, look at these torps on Bismarck I'm about to drop too. Oh, maybe not.
If you wanted to nuke one of them, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be great. Yeah, it's like the Office Space. I'm totally picturing that being like the Office Space. Like, yeah, if you could just go ahead and nuke one of those Bismarcks, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Boy, that didn't even seem fair, did it, Commanders? Whew, that Fletcher did not have a chance, and these Bismarcks don't really have much of a chance either. So keep an eye on the rest of this game in the background as we go through these Rust and Rumble event notes. It's a pretty big list of good and not a whole lot else, so I'm happy to say that this is a pretty great looking event on paper at least. We'll have to obviously see how it plays out once we get it live, but based on these notes, looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. And the number one thing on my good list for this Rust and Rumble event is that you can just buy the Commanders straight up for tabs. You don't need to gamble. You don't need to swipe the credit card. You don't need to roll the dice. You don't need to pull the lever on the slot machine. You can just play the game and get the Commanders. Thank you very much, Wargaming. We greatly appreciate that. That's awesome. And not only can you buy them for tabs, this event currency, not only can you buy them for tabs, but in all likelihood, you should be able to buy them for tabs even if you've pulled them out of your crates, the 5 crates that you've gotten from the Havocs. Let's say that from those crates you got one or multiple of these Commanders, these Mordov, Blue, and Sergio Commanders. If you got those guys, then you can go into the store, most likely, and buy them for tabs again to dupe them and get some commendations towards their legendary ranks. Since you can't pull them out of a normal commander crate week to week, That's great. You know, those blue commendations, those universals, are pretty rare, relatively special, and event commanders are the main way to try to use them on. But if you can dupe these guys by buying them out of the store, let's say you've already got them once out of the commander or the Halloween crate, buy them again to get them that first legendary rank, great. That saves you a blue to be able to use later towards Legends 2, 3, 4 ranks. That's awesome. Another good thing about this event is that you can mix and match the commanders. For the event, Mordov, Blue, and Sergio are not nation specific, and they're not restricted to using on their various ships. So you can mix and match. Put Blue on the quote-unquote Venom. Yes, the 3 ships are not exactly like their normal, regular, standard mode counterparts. They're based on or inspired by them, but I can't remember which ones have the which event names, so I'm just calling them the Venom, the Ognavoy, and the Z23. They're close enough. They're pretty much the same feel, but what's great is that you can mix and match. You could put Blue on the Venom, hint, hint, stomp, stomp. Might be pretty decent. You can put, you know, Sergio on the Z23 if you think that that's going to be good to help out the turret traverse, etc. So this is going to be awesome. I'm really excited about the ability to kind of mix and match them. That's going to be a lot of fun. Another good thing, you could buy a Z23 base coat. Plus, then you can use more tabs to buy the consumable event camos, melt them down because they look ugly as all get out on the normal ships to actually put on there. But since they're an event camo, they're more efficient to melt down into the paint currency to upgrade your Z23 base coat. It is unfortunate, this is sort of a good thing with an asterisk under the bad column, that the Z23 is just that, you know, level 1 or whatever they call it, the 0.5% base coat, and then you have to upgrade it with paint later. It's a bit unfortunate, but the fact that you can spend tabs to buy event camos that are pretty efficient to melt down and use for upgrading, that's pretty nice. Another good thing, you can get a tier 6 premium ship just by playing the game. Since the only other option for doing that right now is to get the Atlanta with green XP, and that is a bit of a grind. 500,000 green XP is nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty significant grind. That's the only other tier 6 premium that's available 100% for free. You can now get the Ognavoy, a different class, a different nation. That's awesome. That for free-to-play players, or at least as cheap as possible to play players, people in that boat that don't just wallet warrior to every single ship as fast as possible, to every class, every tier. For people in that position who, let's say you need a tier 6 premium, you're relatively new to the game, and you need a tier 6 premium to be able to do your premium supplies missions every week. You don't have enough green XP to get Atlanta yet, or maybe you want to save that to get a 7, and that's how you plan on filling out your tier 7 premium roster, whatever. This is a great way to, within a matter, I mean, you could literally grind out the tabs to get the Ognavoy on day 1 if you really want to sit there and play that many games for tabs, and get Ognavoy on day 1 if you're relatively new to the game, don't have a tier 6 premium yet. It's a great, quick, relatively easy way and 100% free to play way to get a tier 6 premium. That's pretty great. Another good thing about the good column is the daily missions. Just by doing the daily missions with a tier 3 ship for the event, tier 3 event ship, you earn 14,700 tabs just by the daily mission completion. Now, we don't know what the nature of those daily missions are. Given that there's 15 of them, I would assume it's just play a game in the Rust and Rumble event mode, probably. Hard to say. Basically, it's a matter of like, start a game, do something, and still have connection to the server when the game ends, so you get some sort of credit for it, and it counts. That would be my assumption, given that there's 15 of them. You know, being able to win 15 games in this type of semi-free-for-all mode is going to be really challenging for a lot of people, and I don't really see Wargaming doing it that way. So in all likelihood, those 15 daily missions are just going to be play a game. So that should be pretty nice. Again, that's 14,700 tabs in order to get all, that's how many tabs you can get by doing the dailies in the tier 3s every single day for the full duration of the event. Well, that is a commander and a half almost. Now, yes, you have to deduct the cost of upgrading at least one of the ships to tier 3 to be able to do those daily missions. I understand that. But you've gotten a lot of those initial investment tabs from the Halloween crates through the Havoc, so there's not a whole lot of cost that goes into being able to earn that 14,700 from those missions. Plus, you're going to be earning tabs in every game in order to fulfill the requirements for those missions. So not only will you get the 14,700 across the 2 weeks, but you're also going to be grinding or earning a whole lot more just by virtue of playing. Another thing that's awesome, I wish I had like an awesome column, but you can division, or at least they've hinted at and indicated that you can division. There's a phrase in the event notes that says, finding a reliable partner for the grind ahead is probably a good idea. Hopefully they mean finding 2 reliable partners, because it's teams of 3. Our game already supports 3-man divisions. Let's hope it's not like 2-man division restriction like they've had in the more recent seasons of ranked. I think that would be really silly given that it's 3-man teams. Now, yes, if it were 2-man teams and 4 teams of 2 or something like that, or 6 teams of 2 for the same 12-player base, sure, I could understand that, restricting it to 2. But hopefully you can division in a 3-man. It looks like you'll at least be able to division in a 2-man. That would be pretty awesome. There seems to be no limit to the amount you can play. Much like Ducks, play it to your heart's content. There's no restrictions, nothing like the Yamato event, for y'all that were around for that, where there was the limit per day with the coins that restricted how many times you could do it. There's just an unlimited amount you can play. So if you want to grind out all the tabs in the first day till you're blue in the face, go right ahead, Commander. Feel free. And one of my last things under the good column is that there's some unique consumables. They've really kind of built the whole event to work within itself as a self-contained unit. There's, they've changed how things work. There's no concealment. Everybody's always spotted, it looks like. The map is a unique map. There's unique consumables. There's no smoke screens. The sonar is basically like a super duper uber on steroids sonar, etc. So these unique consumables, unique ship stats as well. The ships are, as I mentioned earlier, kind of modeled on or based on the kind of regular versions of these ships, but they're not entirely the same. And that's going to hopefully also apply to the commander skills. They hinted at the commanders are not going to be the same as if you were to buy them to use on your regular national ships. They're going to have different skills. I mean, that stands to reason, right? Like all those normal DD commanders have a smoke-related skill in slot 4, but for this Rust and Rumble mode, there's no smoke screens, so why would they have that? Same with concealment. Everybody's got a slot 2 concealment skill. Blue has only slot 2 concealment skills, so it stands to reason that she would have access to something else in slot 2 that doesn't have to do with concealment, because in this mode there is no concealment because everybody's always spotted. So that's kind of fun, just an entire new mode where everything from top to bottom. This isn't just ranked where it's like it's the same thing, just teams of 7, and then there's a different reward structure. This is an entire, from the bottom up, new mode. New commanders, new ships, new maps, new mechanics, etc. That's really exciting. Good on Wargaming. I know that probably took a lot of development time, a lot of balancing work to make sure that that's going to work out for everybody. But that's awesome to see an entirely new event for Halloween. Let's hope that that trend continues. Now let's shift to the bad. I don't have a whole lot in this column, and I actually don't have anything in my ugly column, so that's pretty nice. One thing that is kind of bad is that there is going to be service cost, and tying into that, there's no indication that we'll be earning silver or credits during this event. So this is now, to be fair, as I mentioned under the good, there is no restriction or limit, with the caveat of your bank account, your silver or credits account on your personal account there. So however much you have may restrict how much you can play. As I said, there's no indication that we're going to be earning silver. If y'all remember from Ducks, you earned blue XP and green XP, but you did not earn silver in that mode. Now, to be fair, there was no service cost for Ducks, but in this mode, the Tier 1 ships have a very small service cost of the shells you shoot and presumably the torps you launch. And the Tier 2s have a pretty insignificant service cost, but when you get to the Tier 3 ships, which are the ones you're going to probably want to be playing, at 110,000 base silver per game, that's nothing to sneeze at. If you're just doing the dailies each day, those 15 daily missions in the Tier 3 ships, That's 1.65 million silver per day. Well, if you extrapolate that across the totality of the event every day, plus you might play a couple more games at Tier 3 than just your base 15 to get the daily missions done, well, you're looking at over the course of this, Rust and Rumble event, you're going to forego at least one Tier 7 tech tree ship, possibly up to 2 Tier 7 tech tree ships in that 2 weeks. And if you're in a position where you're trying to buy Tashkent or Amalfi to be able to get those chances at the big crates that come in that campaign mission type of reward, then that's going to be a lot of grinding World of Warships. Again, assuming that by playing Rust and Rumble, you do not earn silver to offset that service cost. Assuming that that's just 110,000 plus getting deducted out of your bank account every single game, and you don't earn any silver back to offset that in each game. Which is going to be my assumption going forward until Monday when we see it live. Another thing kind of tying into that grindiness factor is that this event is going to take a lot of tabs. Now, we don't really have a sense of per game how much tabs earning potential there is. I did watch Legends official video for it, and the amount of tabs, there was like a little tabs rack up counter thing at the end of the match. It doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot available. Now, I have no sense of the performance that led to that game's, rewarding of tabs. Who knows? You could earn a couple hundred per game, a couple thousand per game, tens of thousands per game. It's hard to say. I doubt it would be tens of thousands per game, but it's hard to say. But chances are it's going to feel fairly grindy. Again, 15 daily missions per day. They're encouraging people to play this mode at least 15 times a day. Well, if you extrapolate out, divide across 2 weeks, that's going to be a lot of games and a lot of grindiness to get all the tabs. Now, I'm saying that assuming that you're the type of player that wants to get all 3 commanders, that wants to get the Ognavoy, that wants to get the base coat skin for the Z23. That alone is going to be 62,700 tabs for those things added up. Plus, you have to consider that you're going to have to upgrade your ships to the Tier 3s to make that grind as efficient and effective as possible. And the wording on how you upgrade is a little confusing. It looks like the Tier 3 upgrade costs a cumulative 8,000 tabs, although it could just be the 4,500 for the Tier 3 ship. It's hard to say, but it looks, based on that language, could just be like a translation thing. But it looks to me that you're going to have to drop 8,000 tabs just to be able to start using a Tier 3 ship and have access to those Tier 3 daily missions. So, at that point, let's assume that Tier 3 upgrade for just one of the ships. You could do it for all 3, and holy cow, you're really racking up the tabs cost there. But let's say you do it for one ship, plus you want to get all those 3 commanders, Ognavoy and Z23 rewards. That's over 70,000 tabs. And again, back to the daily tabs rewards, that's 14,700 every day combined total for those daily mission rewards. So that's not a huge chunk of that 70,000 you're going to have to earn. And yeah, we're getting 1,250 from the Halloween crates out of the Havoc, but that's like a drop in the bucket. This is going to feel fairly grindy, unfortunately, in terms of the tabs. It looks like, that's my impression, but it's a fun breath of fresh air. It's not the standard game mode. It's not 9v9 on the same maps over and over and over again. Every game feels the same after a while. This is going to be a total breath of fresh air, and to play it for 2 weeks, 15 to 20 games a day is going to not be too much of an ask for a lot of players in terms of feeling the grind, if you will. Lastly, under the bad column, there's no real mention of stats or other Admiralty tab potential options. Are we going to be able to buy insignias with tabs, promotion orders, etc., like we normally can out of an Admiralty tab? Hard to say. There isn't an Admiralty tab in the store yet. So are we only going to have access to like the Commanders, Ognavoy, Z23, and Rust and Rumble camos? Hard to say. Hopefully there is an Admiralty tab with those other kind of more standard fare offerings. Hard to say. Can't be totally sure. Fingers crossed that we've got that kind of thing going on. But again, no mention of the stats either. It would have been nice to kind of see these ships on paper before the event actually drops, and the commanders for that matter, and what their skills are going to be, so you can kind of start formulating a plan. But hey, that's half the fun on Monday when the event drops, kind of testing things out, and those tier 1 ships kind of get a feel for how the event goes, what the meta is, etc. So anyway, I've been gabbing y'all's ear off for quite a bit there. Hopefully that gives you a good sense of what to sort of anticipate for Rust and Rumble on Monday when the thing drops proper. I'm going to give it a go, give you all some tips and tricks with my first early impressions of how that game mode plays out. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have a couple other videos coming between now and then as well. Thanks an awful lot for listening, everyone. I greatly appreciate it. And as always, stay salty, Commanders.